have a question for you. What do you want your story to be 5 years from now? Stick with me. I promise I'm going somewhere with this. Before the law of attraction, before energy, before vibration, there was one law, the law of mentalism. It's the first Hermetic principle, and it says the universe is mental. Reality isn't built by matter. It's built from mind, which means the world you're living in right now didn't start outside of you. It started in your thoughts. I know that's hard for you to wrap your mind around, but it's true. You've been creating every moment of your life, whether you meant to or not. Understanding how this law really works will protect you from manifesting any confusion or thoughts of fear. So I will ask you again, how do you want the next 5 years to be? Choosing the right thoughts and following the right thought process will either give you what you want or give you what you don't want. So stick around, because in this video, I'm going to break down the law of mentalism like you've never heard it before. You'll not only learn what it is, but how it actually works beneath the surface of your daily life. We'll explore the mechanics of mental creation, the ancient origins of this principle, and the real-world steps you can take to activate it intentionally. And I'll walk you through a 5-part manifestation framework designed to align your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, and identity with the future you're meant to create. By the end of this video, you'll see that your mind isn't just interpreting reality, it's engineering it. The law of mentalism is not some new age trend or internet philosophy. It's the oldest spiritual principle we know, the first of the 7 Hermetic laws, rooted in the teachings of Hermes Trismegistus, a figure who merged Egyptian and Greek wisdom thousands of years ago. These teachings claimed something revolutionary, that everything we experience, every sound, every thought, every material object, is ultimately a projection of mind. This idea was preserved through ancient Egypt, filtered through Greek philosophy, protected during the Islamic Golden Age, and later revived in the European Renaissance by mystics and scientists alike. Then, in 1908, it was formally written in the Kybalion, which boldly declared, "The all is mind, the universe is mental." But here's what most people miss. This isn't just esoteric poetry. Modern science is now catching up. From quantum physics to consciousness studies, researchers are beginning to question whether matter is primary, or if mind comes first. The observer effect, the hard problem of consciousness, neuroplasticity, all of it points to one truth. Your mind doesn't sit inside the universe. The universe lives inside your mind. So now you know where this all comes from. But knowing that the universe is mental isn't enough. What matters most is, how do you actually use this? How do you take this principle and apply it in a way that transforms the way you think, feel, act, and ultimately, what you experience? That's what we're going to break down next. Let's begin with step 1. This is the most important step, and it's something most people overlook. This step is called the modeling syntax, and it's one of the fastest ways to upgrade your results without wasting time trying to figure it out from scratch. Modeling syntax means observing the structure of success, how someone who's already living what you want actually thinks, feels, and moves through the world internally, not just what they do on the surface. It's not about copying someone's actions. It's about studying the blueprint behind their mindset. Because here's the truth. Everyone you admire is running a mental operating system, a specific sequence of beliefs, focus, language, emotional tone, and perception. You're already doing this, just unconsciously. You model people all the time, your parents, your friends, your culture. The question is, are you modeling people who reflect the future you want or the past you're trying to escape? If you model a scarcity mindset, you'll act from fear. If you model confidence, detachment, clarity, your nervous system calibrates to that level of being. Think of your mind like a playlist. If the track is called "I'm not good enough," then every thought, action, and outcome will play in sync with that vibe. So what do? You study someone who's mastered a result you desire. And instead of asking, "What are they doing?" you ask, "What belief must they hold to show up that way?" What emotions are driving their daily behavior? What kind of internal dialogue are they probably running? Once you identify their mental syntax, their pattern, you begin to install it in yourself. This is how you stop trying to manifest from the outside and start thinking from the frequency you actually want to live at. Modeling syntax is real, it's fast, and if you're intentional with it, it becomes your shortcut to reality design. So once you start reprogramming your mind through modeling syntax, something else immediately comes into play. And this part is huge, because no matter how powerful the knowledge is, it won't stick if you're not open to receiving it. This brings us to the second key, Teachability Index. Teachability Index is basically your internal scorecard for how open you are to change. And I'm not talking about pretending to be open while secretly clinging to old ideas. I'm talking about real openness, the kind that requires you to let go of being right, being comfortable, or being in control. This concept is simple, but it's one of the main reasons people don't transform. They say they want a new reality, but they're still filtering everything through the lens of their current reality. And you can't enter a new dimension while gripping onto the logic of the old one. So here's how it works. Teachability Index has two parts. 1, your willingness to learn, and 2, your willingness to let go. You need both. Because some people love learning. They binge content, read all the books, take all the courses, but they refuse to release their old belief systems. And others are open to letting go, but they don't actually seek out new, aligned information. They float. The people who make quantum leaps, they max out both. They're students and they're empty cups. They're willing to learn from anything, even if it challenges what they thought was true. And they're willing to drop old identities fast. Imagine trying to download a new operating system on your phone, but you don't have enough storage. You have to delete some files first. That's Teachability Index. It's mental storage management. Try this. Ask yourself honestly, am I truly open to learning something that contradicts what I believe? Am I willing to drop what's familiar, even if I've identified with it for years? Your answers to those questions will tell you how teachable you really are. And if you raise that score, you'll learn faster, adapt easier, and manifest with less resistance. Teachability isn't about being perfect. It's about being available to evolve. There's so much more we could say about Teachability Index. It's one of those concepts that keeps revealing deeper layers the more you work with it. And trust me, we'll be diving way deeper into this in upcoming videos. Because once you realize how much your openness determines your outcome, you start treating your mindset like a sacred environment. But even with the highest teachability in the world, if you don't know how to lock in what you're learning, it fades. That's where the next piece comes in, competence learning. This is where we move from theory to embodiment. You can model success. You can be completely open to new ideas. But if you don't practice what you're learning until it becomes second nature, you won't ever become a true master of the art of manifestation. The 4 levels of competence are about rewiring your brain and body to operate from a new default. Because repetition is what builds identity. Let me say that again. You don't become confident just by learning about confidence. You become confident by practicing confidence again and again until it stops being a strategy and starts becoming who you are. You don't attract what you want. You attract who you are. You've probably heard that before, right? Here's how it works. Every skill, whether it's emotional regulation, clear decision-making, or high-frequency thinking, goes through 4 stages. 1. Unconscious incompetence. You don't know what you don't know. 2. Conscious incompetence. You become aware, but it feels hard. 3. Conscious competence. You start to get it, but you have to stay focused. 4. Unconscious competence. You embody it effortlessly. Most people stop at stage 2. They get overwhelmed, say this isn't working, and default back to their old programming. But here's the truth. If you stay consistent through stage 3, you literally become a new operating system. That's manifestation from the inside out. It's like learning to play guitar. At first, you have no clue what you're doing. Your fingers hurt, the chords sound wrong, and everything feels awkward. But you keep at it. And then one day, something clicks. Your hands just move on their own. You're playing and singing without even thinking about where your fingers should go. You don't have to try anymore. It's just part of you now. Same with high-level thinking. Same with abundance consciousness. Same with emotional mastery. So here's the practical takeaway. Pick one concept from what you're learning. Just one. Practice it daily. Test it in real situations. Track your progress. Don't try to master everything at once. Master one thing at a time until it becomes automatic. Let's circle back to something I said earlier. You become confident by practicing confidence. That might sound weird at first, like, how do I practice something I don't feel? But here's the secret. Confidence isn't a feeling, it's a behavior. The feeling comes after the reps. Most people wait to feel confident before they take action, but that's backward. Confidence is built by taking action without the feeling and watching yourself survive, succeed, or grow in the process. Every time you follow through when it's uncomfortable, every time you speak your truth when your voice shakes, every time you show up when no one's watching, you build evidence. And your brain stores that evidence. It starts to say, hey, maybe I can do this. That's competence. That's momentum. That's how identity evolves. Here's a reframe. Confidence isn't about knowing you'll succeed. It's about trusting that you'll adapt no matter what happens. And that trust only comes from experience. So, if you want to manifest confidence, don't sit around trying to feel it. Start doing the things a confident version of you would do. And let your nervous system catch up. Competence learning means you train your future self into the present moment through conscious repetition. And eventually, the repetition becomes your new normal. That's when the inner game gets real, because you're no longer trying to manifest. You're just living in alignment. Now, this next part is very, very important, and it's something we always have to keep in mind. Step 4 is always happening. Whether you're aware of it or not, it's active. It's influencing every result you get. This is the step that guarantees your success or your sabotage, and it doesn't turn off just because you're focused on the other steps. You have to implement it when you're modeling new thoughts. You have to implement it when you're opening yourself to learn. You have to implement it when you're building competence. And you'll definitely need it when we get to step 5. But we'll talk about that in just a minute, because step 4 is the all-encompassing step. It's the frequency running underneath the surface. And if you don't manage it, it will manage you. Let's talk about the emotional guidance scale. This right here is where most people get stuck. Because while they're focusing on what they want, they're radiating the emotional frequency of what they don't have. That's why step 4, the emotional guidance scale, is so important. It's not something you use once. It's the undercurrent of everything. Every thought you think, every belief you repeat, every action you take is infused with an emotional signature. And that signature either aligns you with what you want, or it keeps you stuck in a loop. Here's the key insight. The universe doesn't just hear your words, it feels your emotional baseline. You can say, I am wealthy 100 times, but if underneath that you're radiating fear, lack, stress, that's what you're actually broadcasting. Think of your emotions like a text message you're sending to the universe. If you're feeling stressed, angry, or down, that's what you're putting out there, and that's exactly what life sends back your way. But when you're hopeful or grateful, the world seems to respond with more good stuff coming your way. Whatever signal you're putting out is what reality picks up on. Now, this isn't about forcing yourself to feel good all the time. It's about becoming emotionally aware and learning how to shift intentionally. The emotional guidance scale is like a ladder. You don't need to jump from fear to bliss in one step. That's not sustainable. But you can move from fear to frustration, from frustration to curiosity, from curiosity to confidence, and so on. You climb the ladder, one state at a time, and when you start practicing emotional awareness like this, you take back your creative power. Because manifestation isn't just about thinking differently, it's about feeling differently, on purpose. So here's something practical. Start checking in with yourself throughout the day. Ask, what's my emotional signal right now? Don't judge it, just notice it. Then, ask yourself, what's one small shift I could make in this moment that would feel just a little bit better? Maybe it's changing your posture. Maybe it's getting sunlight. Maybe it's choosing a new thought. Maybe it's doing nothing and just breathing. The goal isn't perfection, it's alignment. When you master your emotions, you shift your signal. And when you shift your signal, your reality has no choice but to follow. All right, just like Teachability Index, we could go way deeper into this emotional scale stuff. Honestly, this alone could be a 10-hour conversation. And it will be eventually. We'll break it all down in future videos. But for now, I just want you to sit with the framework. You don't need to master everything all at once. Just start noticing the pattern, feeling the shifts, and applying what clicks. Because if you follow what I've laid out so far and stay consistent, your entire frequency starts to change. And that brings us to the final piece. This one's different. It's not about pushing or programming. It's about what you do after you've done everything else right. And honestly, it's where most people mess up. Let's talk about the receiving phase. So here we are, the final step. The step most people never actually implement because it requires something that almost feels unnatural in today's world. Stillness, surrender, letting go. We're taught to hustle, to chase, to keep moving, but manifestation doesn't respond to force. It responds to alignment. And receiving is about making space for what you've already called in. Here's the truth. If you've been doing the work, modeling new thoughts, staying open to learn, embodying your practice, and keeping your emotional signal clean, you don't have to chase anymore. You just have to let it in. Receiving is a skill. It's the ability to hold abundance without shrinking, to allow support without guilt, to experience joy without sabotage. But it only happens when your nervous system believes it's safe to receive what you've asked for. And most people, even when the manifestation shows up, reject it. They overthink it. They doubt it. They say, it's too good to be true. And energetically, they send it back. Think about ordering pizza. You call it in, but then you lock your door, turn off your porch light, and blast your music with headphones on. The delivery guy shows up, knocks and knocks, but you can't hear a thing. Eventually, he leaves with your pizza. That's what happens when you want good things, but don't allow yourself to receive them. You've placed the order, but you're not actually available for the delivery. Being open to receive is like making sure your door is unlocked, your light is on, and you can hear when opportunity knocks. It's opening your hands, softening your grip, and knowing, I've already done the work. This is where manifestation becomes natural, because you're no longer trying to make things happen. You're allowing things to happen. So how do you do it? Start with the small things. Here are 4 important ones. 1. Practice letting in good things without apologizing for them. 2. Let someone compliment you, as in actually believe them. 3. Let yourself rest without guilt. 4. Let yourself succeed. Very, very important. Don't kill your own wins. When something good happens, just enjoy it. And most of all, when the signs start showing up, say yes, even if it's subtle, even if it feels unfamiliar. That's how you teach your mind and body that receiving is safe, that receiving is normal. When you do that, you close the loop, and everything you've been manifesting starts to move from idea into form. Now here's something I've realized about receiving. It's not just about letting something in. It's about becoming someone who doesn't resist what's already yours. And part of that is learning to move in silence. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is keep your desires to yourself. Not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting the frequency. When something's still forming, still delicate, still sacred, you don't expose it to energy that doesn't match. You hold it close. You nurture it in the dark, like a seed, and you let it grow strong enough to be undeniable. That's real power. And here's the other thing about receiving. It's not about waiting for the future. It's about realizing you're already there. The version of you who has the thing, who lives the life, who moves with that peace and certainty. They already exist. You're not chasing them. You're just remembering how to be like them. Write that down. That's a bar. Sometimes the fastest way to line up with that version of you is to remember when life felt good. Seriously, go back. Think about those moments where you felt proud, free, alive, calm. Those weren't just memories. They were frequency markers. And if you can feel that again, even for 20 seconds, you shift timelines. You stop reaching and start receiving. Remember, there are infinite versions of you, infinite realities, and you don't manifest by force. You manifest by frequency, by softly, consistently choosing the version of reality that already holds what you're asking for. And when you can do that, without grasping, without begging, without needing, you become the space where it has to arrive. That's what real receiving looks like. So now you've got the full picture. We started with modeling syntax, learning how to think like the version of you who already has what you want. Then we moved into teachability, opening your mind, dropping the ego, letting go of what no longer serves. Then it was about competence, practicing it until it's no longer something you do, but who you are. We covered the emotional guidance scale, learning how to ride the frequency wave and use your emotions as signals instead of obstacles. And finally, receiving, the art of getting out of the way and allowing what you've already created to flow in. And when you really sit with it, you realize this was never about manifestation in the way it's usually taught. This isn't just about thinking happy thoughts and waiting for magic. It's about becoming someone new from the inside out. It's about learning how to be the architect of your own reality, not by controlling the outside, but by understanding how the inside creates everything. Because the law of mentalism isn't just some old mystical concept. It's how the universe works. All is mind. Everything you see, everything you feel, everything you're moving toward, it all starts with a thought. And a thought held long enough, with emotion, belief, identity, and clarity, it becomes form. So don't overthink this. Don't try to master it all in a day. Just start by becoming aware of how powerful your mind really is. And then start choosing your thoughts like they matter. Because they do. They always have. And listen, this is just the beginning. There's so much more we need to talk about. The real law of attraction, not the watered-down version that gets passed around. How the universe actually works on a deeper level. Who you should trust when it comes to this kind of work, and who to steer clear of. And yes, how all of this connects to something very real in the material world: money, opportunity, freedom. Because when you truly understand how these steps work, when you go deep into the other 9 universal laws of creation, and when you actually live from this awareness, you become someone who's not just talking about manifestation. You become someone who's embodying it. And that's when things start to move. Not because you're trying to make them move, but because you've become a match for the life you once thought you had to chase. This is how you step into mastery. All right, if you're still here with me at the very end, first of all, I appreciate you. That says a lot about who you are. You're not here just for inspiration. You're here because something inside of you knows you're meant for more. And I respect that. Now do this for yourself. Hit the like button if this resonated. Subscribe if you haven't already, because we're just getting started. And drop a comment with one thing you're going to practice this week. Not what you should do, but what you're actually going to show up for. Let's make this real. And I want to remind you of something important. The fact that you watched this all the way through. That matters. Because every time you stick with a video till the end, you're training your mind to recognize that you're teachable. And the more teachable you are, the faster you grow. The faster you grow, the more your belief expands. And belief? That's your real power. That's why I keep these videos 10 to 30 minutes. Not to waste your time, but to honor it. Because if you can give yourself 30 minutes of focused presence, that small window can change the way you see everything. This channel isn't here to entertain. It's here to awaken. So here's what I'll leave you with. Today is already good. You are already enough. And life gets better the moment you decide to show up differently. This is the beginning of the best rest of your life. Let's build it, one thought at a time. I'll see you in the next one.
Digital genius beyond any screen, like having the world's knowledge in one machine. The Rego AI outsmarts them all, with answers so swift he'll never stall. The only companion I trust with my thoughts, navigating questions others have not. The Rego AI, those circuits and code, feels more authentic than truth untold. Rego